My name is Nicolas Servino, and you're listening to the University of Chicago Public Policy Podcast.
From University of Chicago Public Policy Podcasts,
this is Chicagoland.
I'm Steve Crano.
And I'm Kyra Sturgill. Welcome back. We hope everyone had a wonderful summer.
While Kyra was working in Washington, D.C. this summer, I was here in Chicago, and I had the opportunity to interview some great people doing great work around the city.
So today's episode features Jahmal Cole. Jahmal talks about his organization, My Block, My Hood, My City, and his experiences growing up in Chicago.
Jahmal is an amazing speaker. He's a committed activist, and he's a champion for Chicago's youth.
With that, let's get to it.
Jahmal Cole, thank you so much for joining us here on Chicagoland today. We're just going to get into it. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, my name is Jahmal Cole. That's Jahmal. Don't forget the H, because I got a lot of spankings for taking that H away growing up, so my mom wanted me to keep the H in there. Supposedly it's a Muslim name, but I think my dad just watched Malcolm X movie too much and gave me the Muslim name. So my name is Jahmal Cole. I'm a community activist from the south side of Chicago. Well, I mean, I've been fighting out the Chatham corner for the last 13 years. I wasn't born in Chicago. I know you got to have a quota around that. If you ain't come out of a womb on 63rd and Western, you got to clarify and say, I'm not from here. But I've been here fighting out the south side for, that corner for 13 years. Yep.
Where were you born? I
was born in Libertyville, Illinois. But I was raised in North Chicago, Waukegan area. So same thing as Chicago. I mean, just under-resourced. But, I come up in just a poverty of imagination like most kids, the deficit of hope. All of my cousins, gang members, father, drugs, mother moved out that way so she can have a better life for us kids. And so that's why we lived in Waukegan.
Got it. Yeah. So you're wearing a shirt, My Block, My Hood, My City. That is your nonprofit organization that you founded and are the executive director of.
Yeah.
Can you introduce us to that as well?
Yeah. So it's My Block, My Hood, My City is I don't like the word nonprofit, but I think more so like a social impact organization, I guess. And what we do is we just try to help people out with different initiatives, man. It started in 2013, just volunteering at Cook County Jail. And when I was at the jail talking to the automatic transfer unit, guys that are going downstate for, 20 plus years for heinous crimes, all the guys talked about was my block is 21st Street or my hood is the low end. And I used to always ask them, like, why don't y'all ever say my city? And they was like, this ain't my city. Ain't no black people downtown. Ain't no black people in Wicker Park. What are you talking about? And just so happened in the window or the room I was speaking at the jail, you could see the Sears Tower from the window. And so I pointed at it. I said, nobody's been to the Sears Tower? Nobody had been downtown. And so I knew immediately that it was just an idea like, hey, maybe if I could take these kids outside of their comfort zone of Inglewood, North Lawndale, Roseland, South Shore, maybe they wouldn't come back to jail. And that was the idea. Like, Chicago is very segregated, and I wanted to be more interconnected. So that's how I called it My Block, My Hood, My City.
And so you started this working with youth involved in the justice system.
Yeah, yep. And just at the jail, nobody had been downtown. So I had an idea of taking kids from the hood on educational trips downtown. And I wanted to take them to trading firms. A lot of these communities in Chicago, there's 15 currency exchanges and no banks. And so if you ask a kid, what's a job at a bank, they don't know. So I said, let me call Northern Trust and see if they'll let me take some kids on a tour there of relationship management, of whatever jobs are in the bank I want to know about. Okay, kids don't know what a trading firm is or, what even the trading is. Let's take them to a trading firm so they can learn from someone that does Microsoft engineering, so they can learn from somebody that does networking. It's all about exposure, getting kids outside of their comfort zone and taking them and showing them that the world exists outside of their block. So specifically what I do is I take 120 kids a month on educational field trips, and we expose them to different jobs, different cultures, and different foods as well.
Mm-hmm. So what were you doing before you started the organization? And what was your background? Give us an idea, because you didn't come through social work or education or, any of that stuff.
Yeah, no, man, my background is just, I I grew up homeless. You know, when I was 11 years old, I spent a lot of time homeless with my father. You know, I didn't know a food stamp wasn't real money until I put one in a pop machine. I always tell people that. You know, first time I ever tasted lasagna was when I broke into a house. I thought only rich people ate lasagna, so I couldn't wait to get a taste of that. Like I said, my dad listened to this Malcolm X speeches and Martin Luther King speeches, Stokely Carmichael, Robert Kennedy speeches so much. Like, you know, people play music in their car. My dad played these powerful speeches. So, you know, through the drugs my dad was doing and through the stopping at the drug places, all I would hear is all these speakers. So growing up in the hood, I always wanted to be a speaker. I always wanted to be an activist because that's what kind of my dad was exposing me to, you know. And I would see after he'd buy the drugs from people, he would always mentor the kids. Even though he's buying drugs from them, he would always give them extra money. Like, hey man, yeah, this is my son. My son's gonna make straight A's. My son's gonna be a senator. Let me tell you about, you know, this. But that's how my dad. He wanted to be a senator himself. He wanted to be a speaker or a writer, but he never did it. So. Anyhow, man, I went to an alternative high school in North Chicago. No, actually, I went to alternative high school in Kenosha, Wisconsin. My mom moved me across the border, and I went to school there. It was a pretty under-resourced school, but you want to hear the story? Is it?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. I don't want to talk you to death, but I feel like yeah,
that's
man.
This is a podcast.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Cool. All right, man. So I went to an alternative high school, Ruther Central. Shout out to the Bulldogs. But 2 weeks before my high school graduation, my guidance counselor told me that I popped in her office. I popped in her office because I seen a black guy that graduated from Marquette. He came to the school to speak, and it was the first black graduate I ever seen from a college. I'd never seen a black dude that graduated college. And then he inspired me. I was like, man, I want to go to Michigan University. I want to go to Marquette. And so I ran to my guidance counselor's office and said, hey, I want to go to college. I want to play basketball. I'm going to the league. I want to play ball. And she was like, yo, she said, you only come to high school on game day for basketball. You know, you have a horrible GPA, you go to an alternative school, you know, you might as well go to the military, get a trade because you're not going to go to college. And so her phone rang, she left the office, and there was a book on her desk that said All American Colleges. I grabbed the book, I ripped the page out and shoved it in my pocket. She came back and told me my life goal, blah, 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 blah. I told her I only applied to one college, which was Howard University, and that was at the beginning of my senior year. That's because Sean Puffy Combs went there. I never heard back from Howard at all. So when I grabbed this piece of paper out, that All American Colleges book, that I didn't have an internet. I didn't have an email. This is my only option. So I ran downstairs. I took the paper out of my pocket. It said Wayne State College, Nebraska. And I was like, oh, Nebraska. I was like, what the hell? Nebraska, I don't want to go to school here. But it was my only option, man. And so I called that number, 402-375-7000. And guess what? They accepted people from alternative high schools. I got accepted a few weeks later. I took the paper to my mom. I said, Ma, I got accepted to college. And, my mom told me I was trying to be white. She said, what you trying to be white? You think you better than us? She took my car away from me because I was trying to go to college. I took the acceptance letter to my boys on the block. I said, yo, I'm going to the league. I got accepted to college at Wayne State. I mean, I didn't know the difference between Division I, Division II, Division III. I didn't know an ACT, SAT. I'd never taken it. So I thought I was going to the league. When I saw the manicured lawns on the pictures, when I saw the computers, the lights, I thought I was going to the NBA. And so I ran to my boys. I got accepted to Wayne State. I'm going to the league. Got my jaw broke that summer. You leaving the block? I ain't going nowhere. I was walking around like Kanye West all summer. I told my dad I got accepted to college, the guy that wanted me to be a senator. And, my dad stole a U-Haul truck and drove me to Wayne State in Nebraska. And when you're 17, you get a $500 credit card in the mail. And we maxed the credit card out getting to Nebraska. 15 minutes before we got to the school, my dad told me that he had got the letter from Howard University that I applied to like 6 months ago, but he never gave it to me because he knew they didn't accept me, and he knew it would break my heart and I wouldn't try to go to college. He told me, you've done everything more than anybody in the family. Ain't nothing I could tell you now. And he dropped me off at college, and that's how I got to school, man. And when I graduated from college, I wrote a book and started volunteering at Cook County Jail because I knew if I could do it, I knew I could inspire other people to do it because I did it. And so that's kind of the long story long, but that's how I got to where I'm at now.
And what's that book called?
That's my first book. It's called Athletes and MCs. So like rappers and basketball players. You can get it at formyblog.org. So it's called Athletes and MCs.
So what were you doing immediately before you started My Block, My Hood, My City?
Yeah, so by selling that book, Athletes and MCs, I got hired to work at a trading firm. I know that's weird, but, I was selling books downtown, and, the book got into the hands of a CEO of a trading firm. He asked me if I put you in college for Microsoft engineering, could you pass? And, he did, and I flunked like 2 straight times. Like, 2-month classes at microtrain, failed. Next time, 2 months, failed. He kept on putting me back in school. In 6 months when I passed, he hired me as a Microsoft administrator, and I worked at the firm for 4 years. And when kids would get out of jail, I'd bring them to the firm to teach them how to build operating systems. And so that's kind of how I was starting my nonprofit. Kids would get out of jail. I worked right next to the Sears Tower, so I take them to the firm, take them to the top of the Sears Tower, get some Giordano's pizza, and that's how I was like, okay, I'm on to something here. I left the trading firm after 4 years, and I tried to start out, but I didn't have everything figured out, so I ended up working for the Chicago Teachers Pension Fund and traveling to different high schools in Chicago. It was great exposure for me, building relationships with principals, learning about pension reform. And then I went to work for the Political Action Committee side of the Illinois network of charter schools, and I got to advocate for education reform all around the state, really, and down to Springfield. But I left that 2016, and I jumped out and did this full time. So I've been full time My Block, My Hood, My City since 2016.
And how was that transition? Starting a nonprofit or any kind of social impact organization is never like an easy endeavor.
Yeah, it's every day is another battle, right? So you gotta choose every day between like inclination and obligation, really. But it's a battle, man. It's just you have to have faith more than anything. Faith and genuinely be a servant to society, because if you're not, you're gonna get exposed. I mean, this game is it's treacherous, man. It's the road is so narrow sometimes you can't even turn around. I mean, you're depending on grants sometimes, So I encourage everybody. We have T-shirts and hoodies to sell. I would encourage everybody to have other streams of revenue besides grants. Like 30% of our funding comes from selling T-shirts, hoodies, and hats online. You need that revenue so you can continue to do what you want to do. Yeah, so I think I've seen it all, man. I had my home foreclosed. I had, been downtown selling books again because I ain't have no money. I'm the most popular poor person in Chicago, I think. I'm the poorest, most popular person for sure. People see me and they're like, oh man, I see My Block, My Hood, My City everywhere. What they don't see, my wife having to go next door and put the hose on somebody's water, just so we can have some water. Our water was cut off. They don't see that. What they don't see is that, me paying kids Metro PCS phone bills, me paying kids light bills because they don't got no lights in their house. They don't see everything that needs to be done because you sound cool when you run an organization, but really God's empowered you to be in control of lives or be a role model to youth. And so you got to do whatever's necessary, anything necessary to get those kids to graduate. And that comes with everything. So they're not going to be in come to my program. It's just no. When you come to My Block, My Hood, My City, we got a 4-year relationship, and I take that seriously. And I know our students, and our program managers and program coordinators know our students too. When we're accepting a kid in our program, man, we take them the good with the bad.
So that's a lot of personal cost on you. Mm-hmm. And I do want to get back to the T-shirts and hoodies and the brand, but can you talk about an instance when you've had to say no to a kid, when you couldn't meet a need that they had that you really wanted to, but it just wasn't something you could do at the time?
Yeah, just yesterday. This morning, a teenager from college hit me up and was like, "Hey, I need a couple $100 because I don't have no money to eat." Right, and I just sent this kid to college last week. Mm-hmm. The kid didn't have no money. It's a big barrier to have $250 to get to college. So I just paid that to get the Greyhound ticket to get the kid to college. They got there, they didn't have no money, right? So, I sent them $100, but they still need money for the month. And so it's those are kind of things that I got to do. And there's 5, I can look at my email right now or my text message right now. It's probably 4 of those. Mm-hmm. So yeah, sometimes you just got to empower kids. Now I send T-shirts to kids and tell them to sell them on campus. Hey, we got tees and hoodies. Why don't you sell them? Send us back what they cost, but you can keep whatever's over the top. Mm-hmm. We employ kids in the summertime right now, but that's tough, man. It's always and then you don't want them to develop a habit of just asking for things too. Right. I've seen that too. So yeah.
Do you have a network of people who help you with those miscellaneous support items?
Oh yeah. I got a strong team of 6 people, including myself. So, we have a chief operating officer, a program manager, program coordinator just for our Explorers program. And then we have a community organizer and a community coordinator for our One Block at a Time block club programs. We got a strong team, but as far as the one-offs, the payments and stuff like that, nah, man, it's, we just depend on donations online. I'm really transparent. I'll go right online and say, hey, can anybody help me take these kids around the country? I actually do better doing that than I do writing grants. So if I shovel snow, I can raise a good amount of money by just shoveling snow and just saying, hey, help me do this. When I have to talk with big words and stuff like that, I don't really resonate as well. So
Yeah, where do people make donations online?
Yeah, just formyblog.org. Just formyblog.org, and they can make donations for our Explorers program. You can make donations for our community organizing. You can make donations. I know July 9th we have I know this podcast will come out after, but July 9th, next Tuesday, we have a Young Men Survival Summit where we're encouraging people to sign up, young men between the ages of 14 and